welcome. You're at World Chat. This is a program that tries to introduce us to some of our international neighbors, people who live right here among us. You know, 50 years ago, Haverhill was a community of European immigrants and children of European immigrants. But today, if you go in the grocery stores, you'll see aisles of all kinds of international food because we have many different nationalities who live right here in our community. So today I have an exciting guest. She was raised here in the United States, but she's actually from the Congo and from a Congolese family. So, you know, we all have the same basic desires. We desire food and clothing. We want to have freedom of speech. We want to have a warm roof over our head. And, you know, there's something we all desire, and that is to be loved, and to be loved perfectly, warts and all. And you know, there's only one who can do that, and we know that that's God. So we do base our program on that premise too. But let me introduce you to Peniel. I met Peniel 2 or 3 years ago, and she's a student at North Point Bible College. So I want to say welcome to you, Peniel.
Thanks, Sister Henson.
Peniel Muteba. And you're born in the Congo, right?
Yeah, I was born there.
And when did you come here?
I came here at 3 years old. We migrated. We were refugees from Congo, from the civil wars happening there and everything. And so my father, it's very rare that you see people from Congo coming as a family, but we were blessed enough that the Lord had us come all together, all 6 of us as a family to America. So
The 6 of you?
all 6 of us, yes. My parents and my all 4 of their children, me, my older sister, and my 2 younger brothers.
So you're number 2 in the line of children?
Yeah, I am.
That's great. You know, I looked up some facts about the Congo, and just such a history of warring there, and just so much violence going on, and violence toward women. And
Unfortunately.
I think it's really, really a blessing that you were all able to come out of there.
Yeah.
So I'm just glad you're here. But you know, I know that growing up in almost 2 cultures, it must have been a bit hard. Tell me about what it was like, because you're still a Congolese family, right?
Oh, yeah. Our home is my parents have, we've been here for quite some time now, approximately 23 years. So my parents have Americanized a little bit, slowly but surely. And so the home is now more Americanized than Congoleseanized. I think I just made up that word. But before, it was very much a Congolese home. And there were some difficulties. I mean, just let's say discipline alone. I remember being, I think it was 4th grade, so maybe you're like 10 years old at that time. And one of my friends, we were you know, kids always having fun talking and talking about how parents discipline. And I was talking about, yeah, my parents discipline me, you know, with their hand. And my friend is saying, what? My mom never raises a hand at me. If she tries to hit me, I hit her back. Yeah, so she was like, you know what, you should try that with your parents. She's like, you can do it. You're stronger than them. I was like, yeah, I can do it. I tried it and never again. I was like, oh my gosh. So that was a little bit like one of the little funny stories between, you know, being raised in a Congolese family and discipline in a Congolese family and discipline more in like an American way.
Yeah,
but
because you grew up from beginning right in American schools. So through the day you lived as an American, totally Americanized girl.
Yeah.
But you go home in the evening, and how are things different then?
I mean, I don't know if I can say differently, only because I think I've gotten so accustomed to it that to me things just are. I don't know if that makes any sense.
I understand, but
I mean, sometimes I still have shock now being a little bit older. I see the way just children behave and adolescents behave in general towards older generations. And I'm like, what? Did you just talk back? What? You know, in my house, you get slapped for talking back. There's no questioning. Like, kids who question parents or question people in authority. I'm like, what are you doing? You can get beat for that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
In my household, it was never like that. So I think back then I didn't realize that that was a difference. I think being older now and being in positions of leadership where maybe I have people talking back, I'm like, wait, what? It's still a culture shock for me. So people are like, no, kids are supposed to question. I'm like, kids are not supposed to question. They question when they get into college age, where they're allowed to question the teacher.
That's
you know?
basically what it is.
Yeah. So for us, it's like you don't question, you just do. So.
Tell me about your church. What kind of church have you gone to?
Well, my father is actually a pastor. So when we were here, he pastored churches.
That.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
Great. That's
he
great.
pastored churches. Yeah, he was called into the ministry back in Congo. He had a church in Congo. And when we came here, my father did some home churches, and he actually ministered alongside with my father's name is Nicholas. So he was Pastor Nick, and he actually ministered alongside another Pastor Nick. And he also pastored a Haitian congregation and another African congregation, as well as a Congolese congregation.
In the Boston area?
In the Boston area, yeah. And then he did a home church. So right now, my father no longer pastors. He's more so a missionary to back home, which is kind of cool.
It is.
So, yeah.
Does he make trips back there?
He does. Yeah.
I'm finding out some things, even though I've known you for a while. We visited and chatted
Yeah.
different times. I didn't realize that, so that's great.
Yeah.
So tell me about food.
Food.
You have anything different in your house,
yeah.
or what kind of food do you eat?
Well, here's the
from
thing
a
about
Congolese family.
Congolese men only eat Congolese food.
Really?
So you won't see my dad eating African food. I mean, American food, excuse me. So it was funny. I think it was like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I tried to cook some American food for my dad. And what did I cook? I cooked some baked potatoes. I think like in high school, we used to have like baked potato day. And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Let me introduce it to my dad. So I cooked some baked potatoes, and I had sour cream.
Yes.
Right?
Sour cream.
I'm still getting adjusted to the food, right? So it was sour cream. I think I had some cheese that he could put on there, and other things that I like Googled for my dad to try it out. And my dad was like, what's this? I was like, Daddy, it's baked potatoes. You can put like cheese on there and sour cream. 3 years ago, so we've been in this country for more than 20 years. You know, it's not like we just came. And he was like, this is not a meal, this is not food. I said, Daddy, yes it is, Dad, just try it. And he's just like, oh, okay. He's like, can you please just make me fufu and rice and some stew? I was like, okay.
Fufu, I mentioned in another show, we had some students out to our house. We had an African night at our house. And one of the married students, his wife sent a lot of African food and fufu. So when we sat down to eat, they all looked at each other. We know how we eat this, but how do we eat it in an American home?
Oh, yeah.
So I said, fellas, this is home night. This is African night. You eat like you're at home.
Yeah.
Everybody relaxed and ate with their hands.
Yep.
Yep. Is that your family? You eat the fufu with your hands?
Well, that's how when we first came here, that's how we used to eat. So my parents did a very good job. As you can tell, I don't speak with an accent.
No.
So they, a lot of people are always like, you're African? You sound American. I'm like, yeah. My parents made sure that we spoke English at home, because they realized that from a young age, we were studying in school, but we would still, our teachers would speak to us in English, but we would respond back in French. We were afraid to speak English, even at home. It's intimidating learning a new language, even as a child. It's easier as a child, but it's still intimidating at the same time. So my parents made this rule, English at home, for us to really perfect the language. And unfortunately, there are stigmas with people, especially immigrants, who do speak with an accent. And so my parents didn't want an accent hindering us from job opportunities or just being an American in general, because unfortunately that is a stereotype. It is something, I guess you could say, that is frowned upon when it comes to certain opportunities that you're presented with when you do have an accent. So my parents really did try for us not to have accents and to speak English. So it took a while, but we did speak English at the house.
You know, it always amazes me that immigrants today still face those struggles.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Oh, yeah.
Our country was just made up of immigrants. That's our history of people coming from every nation. And at one point or another, we all were immigrants. We all had an accent. So it always surprises me when people, if we were here before you, we take an attitude, you know. So that always, I hate that. But have you had struggles that way at all, your family?
With
Your
Yes,
mom
there
and
have.
dad, maybe?
Oh, yeah, there have.
Because you can't get rid of an accent
Oh,
once
no.
you're an adult.
No. I mean, to me, I don't hear their accent because I'm used to it. Sometimes in certain things that they say, like when my dad says monkey, it's like monkey. I'm like, Daddy, monkey. He's like, monkey. I was like, Daddy, don't say it, just say ape. He's like, ape. I'm like, good. Just say that in reference to a monkey. You sound great, you know? And they still have an accent, but it's not as bad as it was. I mean, they speak perfect English. They know the grammar. They know everything. It's just, they just have an accent. My mom, funny story with my mom. She was, she might kill me if she sees this, but she won't. So she was redoing her voicemail, her cell phone voicemail. I think it was last year. And she called me. She was like, Peniel, you know, I'm not going to do the accent because then I'll just laugh if I do her accent. But she was like, Peniel, I need you to listen to my voicemail and tell me if you hear the accent. So I was like, okay, mommy, yeah. So called her phone. She ignored my phone so it can go straight to voicemail. And I'm like, Mommy, I hear the accent a little bit. And she's like, okay, I'm going to redo it. This went on for a period of 40 minutes. And I was like, Mom.
Back and forth?
Yeah, back and forth of her calling me, okay, I redid it. Check the voicemail now. I was like, Mom, I'm checking it. I still hear your accent. She's like, oh. Okay, I'm redoing it again. So it was funny, it was going back and forth. I was like, Mom, like you have an accent. And so she tried speaking slow, heard the accent. She tried speaking fast, she sounded Asian, you know, with an Asian accent. She tried speaking like so many different ways. I was like, Mom, just.
Sometimes you just have to
just
be
who you are, you know?
That's right. That's
So
right.
it was funny. She tried to get me to do her voicemail. I was like, I'm not going to do it. It's your voicemail. Your voice will be on there. You're fine. It's okay.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know, have you lost your French?
So I understand French fully. Speak it non-fluently, unfortunately. I have grammatical errors and just conjunctions. It's different. It's difficult for me now. I think in English and then I translate in French. Whereas before I used to think in French and translate in English. So that is a difficulty for me now. But I am able to speak, but it's not going to be the best French. Yeah.
You know, Peniel, we're going to take a short break right here. We're introducing a segment called World Moments. So let's just see this from a man named Brother Jerry.
I had the opportunity to visit a Tuareg believer's home and talk with him for about an hour. I asked him to share with me how he had come to know Jesus Christ as his personal Savior. He grew up in a Tuareg village and spoke the Tuareg language called Tamashek. His family was Islamic, and he attended the local elementary school. Later, he was sent to secondary school in the capital city. Following graduation, he returned to his village, and his father gave him a wife. Several years slipped by. On a visit to a neighboring country, he met some Pentecostal Christians. They shared with him the good news of the gospel, and he observed how they practiced their faith by living godly lives. The love they showed to him and the message of the Jesus film convicted him of his sins. The following Sunday, he accepted Jesus Christ as his Lord and Savior. Returning home and declaring his faith in Jesus, he faced a lot of persecution from his family. Fortunately, he found employment and was able to sustain his wife and children. Later, He had the opportunity to study at a Bible school, after which he became a pastor of a small church made up of various people groups. He went throughout the area, openly preaching the gospel among fellow Tuareg. Some responded and became solid believers. May the Lord continue to use these brethren to introduce the Tuareg to Jesus, the Savior.
We're back, and I hope you enjoyed that world moment. We have Peniel Muteba with us today. She was born in the Congo, raised here in the States, though. So, Peniel, tell us how you came from Malden and how you got to Haverhill, Massachusetts, and what you're doing here and so forth.
Well, how I got to Haverhill. Okay, so it was when I was in nursing school. I was in nursing school and I graduated and I started nursing I was doing nursing for a year, working in nursing, and I realized it wasn't anything like school. And I don't know if you know this, Sister Henson, but I'm kind of a talkative person. So I realized
This
that.
is a good place for talking.
And in school, I have like one patient and I'm able to really communicate and get to know my patient and talk with them and not only take care of them medically, but also take care of them like soulfully. I truly believe it's, in the hospitals, it's not just a medical thing, it's a holistic thing.
Right.
It's TLC, it's getting to know the patient, speaking to their emotions, because being in the hospital can get people depressed, can make them feel down, can make them feel like they can no longer go back to the state that they were in prior to a physical condition. So I really want to get to the root of that. That's the type of person that I am. And so going from having 1 or 2 patients in school to having 18 patients in the field and not being able to speak to them, not being able to treat them in their soul, time-wise, it just, I didn't like it. I became the depressed one, not necessarily in the sense of being depressed, but I just no longer liked what I was doing. It was no longer fulfilling to me.
You're a people person.
I really am. Sometimes, like, it depends what kind of people it is. If you're good people, then I'm a people person. If you're bad people, I'm not a people person. So that was what happened, and I did not see myself doing this for the next 60 years of my life until I retired. It wasn't pleasing. I was coming home sad and aggravated, crying, because it was just, I mean, as a nurse, you make great money, but for me, it really wasn't worth it. And so I started reading my Bible more because I was telling myself there has to be more to life than just going to work and making money and not being fulfilled. I mean, it did nothing for me. It really didn't do anything for me. So I just really gave my life to Christ and started reading my Bible. And the more I read, the more I was just really being fulfilled. And the more I felt joy and happiness. And the more I would just, even going to work, I would like hide in the med room and pray. Like, it was funny. Like, I would just hide in the med room and just pray, even when I had the craziest patients. And I would just see God give me like a peaceful shift, you know? And I was like, oh, God is so good and so amazing. And so it got to one point where I was just reading my Bible and I wasn't really able to understand what was being written. And I'm like, what's going on, Lord? You know, like, reveal yourself to me. And he wasn't, you know, in certain passages. And I was praying and still reading. And one day I just heard him say, go to school for this. So I was thinking, you can go to school for reading the Bible? I was like, okay. So, you know, Googled Bible schools.
Right.
And I saw a lot of Bible schools that were out of town, out of Massachusetts. And this was in January of 2011. And didn't see anything that piqued my interest, but surely enough in August, and I quit searching for schools because I was looking at things and nothing looked interesting to me. But it was approximately in August of 2011 that I found, back then, Zion Bible College, which is now North Point.
Right.
And I said, oh, this school looks like a school where you can learn about the Bible and know its foundation, the context, what God is saying through the people.
Not too far from home.
And not too far from home. So I spoke to my pastor about it. He told me it was a great school to go to, and come to find out it was an Assemblies of God school. And I go to an Assemblies of God church. I was like, wow. And so I came to the school, and it was just that I applied for the one-year certificate program to get a background on the Bible, the context, who wrote what sections and why, what does it mean, how God spoke to them then and how he speaks to us now through those passages. And I loved it. And but I signed up for the one-year certificate program, and as you know, everybody at the school says if you sign up for the one-year certificate program, you're gonna stay for the 4 years.
Everyone loves the school. Once you come,
once you come, you
it.
can't get out. And so that's what happened to me. I ended up staying the whole 4 years. And so
You're
as
a senior this year,
I'm
right?
a senior, yes. No more 4 years.
Yes,
Final year.
Right.
You know, so
Wonderful.
yeah, so that's what happened, and I love it. And I'm a missions major. And
Well, now tell us, with that major, you did a trip this summer.
I did, yes. I went to, so my first ever missions trip, where I was exposed to certain things, was back in 2011 when I gave my life to Christ, figuring things out. And it was in Iquitos, Peru, the Amazon jungle, which was pretty cool. My church just started building churches there. So that was pretty amazing. And so my second trip was the one I took this summer. And I went to unreached people groups and closed countries. So I went to Nepal, which is approximately 90 to 95% Hindus and Buddhists.
Yes.
And then I went to Bangladesh, which is approximately 98 to 99% Muslims. And that was very difficult. It was very hard, but it was amazing, and I loved it.
I know you came home really excited.
Yeah.
So you had a really great life-changing experience.
Yeah.
What, about a month ago?
Oh, yeah.
So we've even got pictures we're gonna show.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about that because this was a real cultural experience. Tell me about dating
Okay.
among Congolese families.
Well, there is no dating.
No dating.
There's no dating. I mean, it's
How
pretty.
do kids get together? How do young people?
I don't know. It's like in our culture, it's like you start dating after you're married. Like, but how do you get married before dating? No one knows. It's like the unspoken thing. Like till this day, my parents swear they never dated. You know, you just don't talk about it because in our culture, if you, let's say you have a boyfriend, right? As a female, I would have a boyfriend. So they say,
just somebody that you're attracted to. Is
Yeah.
that what you're talking about?
let's say I have like the American, let's say if I use the word boyfriend, in the
Okay.
context, the Americans say boyfriend. In our culture, it's very taboo because it's as though it may not be the case, it's as though you're just having fun with this guy. Nothing is serious. And you're going from guy
So
to
you
guy.
build a friendship.
Exactly. It would be more so of a friendship that you're building in, I guess you would say courting. Like, I think that's the term that some people use. Like, it's a courtship where you get to know the person in public places with other people. You're not private, left together. Exactly.
I think that's very healthy, really.
Yeah.
Very safe.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, yeah, you don't use the word boyfriend. People would have a heart attack if you said this was. You'd be kicked out of the house if you said boyfriend. Ooh, you don't say boyfriend.
That's not the way it goes.
You don't say boyfriend. Yeah.
Okay. So somehow you connected with a guy.
Yeah.
Go ahead and tell us
what
about
happened was he saw me, and who wouldn't want to chase after me after you see me for the first time? So that's kind of what happened.
We all agree.
So yeah, we actually met. It was in 2008, my birthday dinner that I was having with my cousin, and he came on my cousin's side because she invited a friend who invited him. So that's how we first met each other. But, you know, for 1 year we didn't speak. It wasn't until March of 2009 that he actually introduced himself to me. He's been stalking me for a year, you know, so made sure that I was everything that he saw, and he realized that I was beyond that.
Oh.
And so that's how it started.
We love Peniel. Everybody loves Peniel. So tell us now, you had an engagement party.
I did.
Tell us how you got there to that
Okay.
point, and then you've got some pictures we want to
do.
pull up too.
Well, how I got to that point was 5 years worth of dating. You would think that after 1 year he realized that I was the one because I'm just amazing. No, I'm kidding. But 5 years of
We've
dating.
got a picture here.
And it was a struggle getting to those pictures to the engagement ceremony because our engagement is done completely different from the American culture. It's just completely different. So what happens is, technically, in the American culture, we were engaged September 20th, 2014. That's when he asked me the big question. But I considered my proposal second week of August 2014 when he said, I'm bringing my family to your house. I was like, what?
So this is a family event.
It's a oh yes, because
So we had a picture up of the family. Yeah.
yeah. So what happens in our culture is that it's very much family, and you need your father's blessing. Without your father's blessing, I know they do that in the American culture too, where the guy has to ask the girl's father for the blessing. But in our culture, it's both families come together, and his family comes to my house and we host him. My family came down from Canada. We host them in our house. We cook for them. We greet them. And so what happens is only the patriarchs speak. And sometimes you can have a speaker for the family or not. My father, my patriarch, was our speaker. He had his uncle be his speaker for his family. And so they talk, you know, my son is very interested in your daughter. Great. My daughter is interested in your son. Great. So let's make this happen. And so then what happens is there's part of a dowry that needs to be paid. We still do the dowry system in our culture, and we don't see it, though it's a bride price, we don't see it as you're paying for me. To us, it's more so of a respect.
A gift.
A gift to the family saying, thank you so much for raising your daughter in such a way that out of all the women in the world, this is who I want to be my wife because of her
amazing.
Character. So that's how we see it, the
Right.
people in the culture.
Right.
And so that's the picture.
Tell us about this.
Okay.
Tell us about this picture.
So that picture, I'm giving the dowry to my father. And as soon as he accepts it, I bend down, showing honor, giving honor and respect to my father. And as he accepts it, that's when we were engaged.
And then
This is the
one-
American, when I realized he was doing the American proposal, which I never thought would happen in my life. Because in our culture, the ring comes like the day before the white wedding. We say white wedding. By white wedding, I mean white dress, because I also have to do a traditional wedding.
Wow.
So the white wedding is when I have the white dress, like the religious
Sure.
blessing from God.
Sure.
But the traditional wedding is another blessing from the family. And so there's the traditional engagement, you get blessed with the family, you get blessing from the family. The traditional wedding, you get another blessing from the family, and then the white wedding, religious wedding, where you get blessing from God. And then,
That is all incredibly amazing.
thanks.
It is. I mean, it's wonderful. It really is, because it brings all the family into this,
Yeah.
and I believe that really brings a unity and a support to the marriage.
Yeah.
That, you know, it's not just these two people making a commitment, but we're all supporting this commitment, and we're gonna work to make sure this is a lifetime commitment.
Yep.
Peniel, it's been great to have you.
Thank
Do
you
you
so much.
have anything you want to say in closing today?
No, I'm excited to be here. This is a great show. Thank you for having me and
I-
allowing me to share my story.
I have loved hearing of your cultural
Thank you.
family events, and this has been beautiful.
Thank you.
So I hope we could do this maybe again sometime.
Yeah.
You know, if there's another big cultural event in your family,
Okay.
we can hear about it. This is
Okay,
great.
thank you.
I always end by saying sayonara. How do you say goodbye in French?
You can say à tout à l'heure ou au revoir.
Okay, all right. And we just hope we see you back next time, and we'll have another exciting guest here at World Chat.